This is chapter number 9, Women, Caste, and Reform. So, we talked about various reformers, Jyotirao Phule Sahab, and he wrote Gulam Giri and he dedicated it to the slaves, the American slaves who fought for the democracy. So when we come to 20th century, there are two main key players or leaders, Bhimrao Sahib Ambedkar and Periyar, that is E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar. So Periyar, people call him by name Periyar, and he was active in southern part of India. B.R. Ambedkar Sahab in western India and Nayakar Sahab in South India. So, what is very special about B.R. Ambedkar, Mr. B.R. Ambedkar? He was the architect of our constitution. Drafting committee, he was chairman. Okay. First thing is, Ambedkar Sahab, he was born in Mahar family. He came for a Mahar family. Mahar family was Ati Shudra. That is, it comes from the lower caste. And when he was a child, he experienced, actually, he experienced the caste prejudice, the caste discrimination in everyday life. Because when he used to go to school, he has to sit outside. He was forced on the ground to sit because he was not allowed to sit with the upper caste kids, and he couldn't drink the water from the taps where these upper caste kids were having water, okay, or they were using. But still, he was a big man and he followed the path, and finally he got a fellowship to United States for higher studies. He was actually a law student, so he became a barrister. So when he came back to India in 1919, so this year you must remember, 1919 he came back, and because he experienced it in childhood also, and he was knowing what is going on in the as far as the caste discrimination is concerned, he wrote extensively about the plight and distress of the lower caste, which was due to the upper caste. And what he did in 1927, actually he started this. He started a temple entry movement because at that time the Dalits or the lower caste were not allowed to enter any of the religious space. Okay, so Mahar people joined him, they participated, but his main aim was he led these three such movements. And what was the main idea from 1927 till 1935? The main aim was that he wanted to show everyone that this caste prejudice or caste discrimination is so much oozed inside the society or imbibed into the society. Okay, that is, upper caste people can always come, same people, but the other person which is regarded as a low caste cannot come because he is supposed to be a corrupt person, like a dirty fellow. Was what was the idea. Now, a big name, very big name, Periyar, E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar. In the southern part, he was quite affluent. Now, I'll take you to the early 20th century. This early 20th century, that is, I am talking about 1900 and above. Previously, we saw Brahmins also took part in this caste discrimination regime or movement. But there were non-Brahmins also. They started a movement, okay, which is coming from Shudras and Ati Shudras, okay. So they also took initiative. Non-Brahmins took initiative, and because mostly people got education, they got some wealth. Also, they were being talked about, like they became influential. So that is why these people, non-Brahmanical people, they were also able to start movement. Okay. So they were saying one thing. One thing is very common. That's the Brahmins who are calling themselves as Aryans. Who are Aryans? They were invaders. They came from outside, from north to Indian subcontinent. And we are talking about, because this is the South Indian part, so we have Dravidian culture, Dravidian races. So the Aryans conquered the actual people, original inhabitants of this land, and these indigenous people, that is the Dravidian races, overpowered by the Aryans, and now they have started calling them as the lower caste people. So the original inhabitants are who? We, means Ramaswamy Naikar is saying. We are the actual people here. Aryans and Brahmins and all the other caste, the higher caste which are saying, they are the invaders. So E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, with love people would call him Periyar. Again I am saying very big name. Question is always asked about him. Now Periyar Sahab, he was not from a very big family. He was just from a middle class family. And when he started all this, means when he was very young, he became an ascetic, that is sannyasi, brahmachari. So he started his life as an ascetic. Okay. And because he was sannyasi, he studied all these Sanskrit scriptures, most of them, like the Upanishads, the Puran and everything, which is very important for the Brahmins. So he realized and he understood everything. And after that, he became member of Congress, Indian National Congress. But the problem was, there was a party. So he is Naikar Sahab, here is Indian National Congress, and there is a party going on. ये हमारी party हो रही है. But the party was, the upper caste were sitting different, in a different place. And the lower caste were sitting in a different place. That is, the feast being organized by the nationalists, so-called nationalists, the arrangements were on the basis of caste distinctions, caste discrimination. Okay? So this party, the party over here, was not welcomed by Mr. Naikar. He said, what is this going on? You are Indian National Congress and you are in your only party, you have different sitting arrangement. No. So he said, we need to do something because this is the question on our self-respect. So he founded self-respect movement. And he said, he argued that the people who are regarded as untouchables, they are the actual Tamilians, they are the actual Dravidian culture holders, they are the upholders. And they are being subjugated, they are being invaded, they are being forcefully, deprived of all the rights by the Brahmins, Okay? So basically he was talking about those people for ancient times, those are being deprived of their rights. So he said these achoots or untouchables who are regarded as achoots, they have to free themselves. And he was of the idea that all religions, we have to fight for our social equality. Social equality. Because he understood that everyone has to be equal, everyone has to get all the rights, freedom, equality, etc. Okay? Now, as I said, he started with sannyasi. So he was knowing all the Hindu scriptures. So that is why he was very critical about these Hindu scriptures. Because he knew all that. So Hindu scriptures, especially, there were certain books and certain content. He was very critical about them. He was saying about Manu Smriti. These are codes of Manu. Manu was actually ancient lawgiver, and he told that he has written that people from lower caste, how they have to be treated, means not to be treated in a good way. So Manu Smriti is still debated, And he also said the Bhagavad Gita is like Quran in Islam, like Bible in Christianity. He said against, and he was critical about Bhagavad Gita also, and even the Ramayana, the epic story, the epic ancient, Hinduism landmark. Okay, so Manusmriti, Bhagavad Gita, and Ramayana. So he said all these books, all these scriptures have given these Brahmins the authority that they can dominate the lower caste. And also, not only they are dominating the lower caste, or they are saying that these are lower caste, they are also dominating the women. Women are not given any freedom, any right under these books. Okay? See, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. When people are talking against Hinduism, against the different cultures and different not very good, say, riti rivaj and rituals, and it was very difficult at that time. See, first let me tell you, Hinduism is a very noble, very good, very clean religion. The problem is that in every religion, whether it be Islam or Christianity or whichever religion you talk about, there are people who are orthodox, who are conservative. They don't want change, and that is the problem. They try to bring some different rituals and all these which are not good for some certain kind of humankind. So those orthodox, those conservatives, which were not happy with the change, or who want to stick with the otherwise thinking of the Hindu scriptures, that is, Hindu scriptures is very good, well written, and it gives all equality to everyone. So what they did, Orthodox Hindu society, see, Sanatan Dharma Sabha and Bharat Dharma Mahamandal in North, and in Bengal, Brahman Sabha was made. Let me tell you again, the people who are against Periyar and other who are talking in favor of lower caste, so these people, they were saying that the cornerstone of Hinduism, it's caste distinction, caste discrimination, and we need to uphold it. So the Sanatan Dharma Sabha, Bharat Dharma Mahamandal in North, and Brahman Sabha in Bengal, they were just saying that we need to keep this Hinduism and caste discrimination alive. We have to uphold this. So all this discussion is still going on. Let me tell you, in my view, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, religion is your personal aspect. Don't talk about that in public. It's between you and your God. There is no one in between. Love everyone, respect everyone. Don't criticize any other religion. Don't talk bad about any other religion. Respect every religion. Try to be friendly and don't keep things in mind, So because reform was going on, and these were not only the people and these were not only the organization, there were different organizations which came up. Okay, so we need to have a brief about those organizations which talked about class discrimination problem. They talked about women inequality. They talked about the Vidva Vivah, okay, Bal Vivah and Sati Pratha, all the Kuritiya, the rituals which are not good, which are say bad for the humankind, bad for the women, bad for the kids. Okay, so the first was Brahmo Samaj. Let me talk you. 1830 it was founded, and they said the idol worship and sacrifice, killing of animals on the name of God, it should not be there. Okay, and they said that criticizing other religion or religious practice is not good. We won't do it. We won't talk about other religion. Sarva Dharma Samman. Especially Hinduism they took and Christianity they took. And they talked negative also and positive also. Not only negative, they talked about all these and they discussed it. Here you see Keshav Chandra Sen. He was one of the main leaders of this Brahmo Samaj. Okay. The next you see is Henry Derozio. Now his whole name was Henry Louis Vivian Derozio. He was actually a teacher and he formed Young Bengal. So he was a teacher in Hindu college in Calcutta in 1820s. And he was promoting very strong radical ideas. very hard ideas. And he was saying his pupils, the kids he was teaching, he was saying, pupils means all those he used to teach. He used to tell them, question authority. That is, if somebody is in the power, please question, just don't follow him. Question him. Young Bengal movement, he was saying that the tradition and custom which are not good, which are bad, you need to attack them. You need to attack them. He also said the education of women is very important. Education of women is very important. Okay. So women education and all the tradition custom which are not good, and then freedom of thought and expression for everyone. Right? This was his idea. Henry Derozio. Now next I'll talk about Ramakrishna Mission and Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda is a very big name. And this Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he was Swami Vivekananda's guru. Swami Vivekananda guru was Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Okay. So on his name, Ramakrishna Mission was formulated. And this Ramakrishna Mission stressed, or it was in the idea that the salvation, the mukti, the moksha can only be achieved through samajik kaam, social work, social service, and the action which is selfless. Don't think about return, what you're getting in return. Just work. Do good for everyone. Okay, that is how you will get salvation, moksha, mukti. Now comes the Pratna Samaj. And this Pratna Samaj was established in 1867 in Mumbai, that time Bombay. The main thing was caste restriction, they want to remove it. Child marriage, they want to abolish it. They want to promote the education of women. And they want to, this widow remarriage ban was there. They were against this. And see, they would have meetings and they will discuss about Hindu, Buddhist and Christian text in this religious meeting. Okay. So they were discussing about every aspect of good or aspect of different religion. Now comes the Veda Samaj, and it was established in Madras. I'm coming to South, Chennai, in 1864. And this Veda Samaj was inspired by Brahmo Samaj, the first Samaj we talked about. Veda Samaj was inspired by Brahmo Samaj. I told you about Brahmo Samaj. This is the Brahmo Samaj, Keshav Chandra Sen. And this Veda Samaj also talked about abolishing the caste discrimination, again widow remarriage, promoting the women education, and they were believing in single God. The members of Veda Samaj, they believed in one God. There are hundreds of gods in Hinduism. They were believing in one God. And also in Hinduism, the superstitions and rituals which are not required, extra say propagated rituals and those andhavishwas, superstitions that have come, they were condemning it, right? So they were having a very rational approach to the religion. Sometimes you have to do rituals which are not required, especially imbibed by the orthodox people. Now coming to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Now he was an educator basically. So his Aligarh movement or the Aligarh movement was basically for education. Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, let me tell you again, Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, and it was founded by Syed Ahmad Khan in 1875 at Aligarh, which is now in Uttar Pradesh, previously United Provinces. Later it became Aligarh Muslim University. Don't get worried about Muslim name because Aligarh Muslim University has every sect, religious people or different caste creed learning there. Okay. Now they were in the idea that the institution has to give modern education to the Muslims. The Muslims should know what Western science is, what is going on in the world, the latest education they have to be given. Aligarh movement was basically an educational reform. So this was the only kind of movement which started which told the stress should be given to education. Now Sikhs, we love Sikhs. So Sikhs are the best people. So very clean religion, very you know, uh, amazing religion, respectable religion. So now what happened? Singh Sabha movement. The basic thing was, in every religion, as I said, there are some people, there are some rituals, there are some superstitions which are always there, which is not there in this text. People have just formed it. So in Sikhs also, first let me tell you that this Singh Sabha movement was formed first in Amritsar in 1873. Let me tell you, Amritsar 1873, Singh Sabha movement. Then Lahore in 1879. So the main idea of Sikh Sabha movement was that all the superstition, Andhavishwas and the caste distinctions which has come into Sikhism. Sikhism doesn't hold any caste discrimination. In Sikhs, everyone is equal. So they were trying to remove all these. They were saying that the Sikh, all the gurus, big gurus, what teaching they have given us, we need to combine it with the modern instructions, and we want to promote this kind of education. So they were also giving stress on education, because if you have education, if you have knowledge, you will not be talking about superstitions. You will be not talking about caste distinction. This is a Khalsa college. I'm talking about Amritsar, established in 1892 and by the leaders of the great Sikh Sabha movement. Respect Sikhs, respect Muslims, respect Hinduism. Coming to black slaves and white planters. So we talked about Gulamgiri. We talked about the 1863 civil war in America. So one people would buy several people. This was slavery. At that time, like we are buying dogs today, we are buying stuff today. People used to buy people at that time. Can you imagine? And these slaves were bought from Africa, blacks. If you see today's black, they're called as African American in America. Okay. So white planters, because plantation was going on in various parts, especially the southern part of America. What happened actually? The European explorers, they went to different parts of the world, and when they came to Africa, they were trading. So they started trading people. So what they did in 17th century, European explorer and the trader started the trading of slaves, black Africans. So at that time, slavery started. Slave trade began. Das Pratha, Dasta. Now I'm talking about 17th century. Please remember. Now these black people were captured. They would be bought from Africa to America, and they will be sold to the white planters. Americans, if you see, America is also an immigrant. All are immigrated there. First white people, then African came. So now these people, these planters, they were doing some cotton plantation. There are different plantations they would do in southern United States, like Texas and below. So this is the southern part. I'm not talking about the above part. Below Canada, I'm not talking. I'm talking about above Mexico. Okay. So these slaves, because they were slaves, they have to work long hours. Dawn to dusk. They will be punished. Kode padte the, that is, they will be whipped and tortured. Like animals, they were treated. So many blacks and whites, they opposed this slavery. They organized protest. And there was an American Revolution in 1776. Everyone was saying, Americans, please listen to your language, what you have written. Please understand, why are you doing this slave trade, and why are you promoting this caste discrimination or the color discrimination? So Abraham Lincoln said in Gettysburg Address, and what he said was, whosoever is working for democracy or whosoever is fighting the slavery, they are actually working for democracy. Okay, so he was thinking about racial equality, the government of the people, by the people, or for the people. Okay, so this is all about this topic. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.